That there is today an India to think and talk about, wrote India's first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, in his diary, is very largely due to Sardar Patel's statesmanship and firm administration. Yet, we are apt to ignore him. To the best Prime Minister India never had, 31st of October is not Sardar Patel's birthday. He made the date up while writing his matriculation examinations, like we used to get our names checked and corrected just before the board's examination. Yeah, exactly like that. Believe me when I say Mimani was a difficult surname to get right. Thus, the government of India celebrates Rashtriya Ekta Divas, or the National Unity Day, on a figment of Sardar Patel's imagination. And just as well, for he was epochal. The Iron Man of India led probably the best ministry this country has ever seen. He was astute, incredibly so. His actions and observations on the territorial integrity and sovereignty of India are as relevant today as they were when he made them. There are umpteen such instances, but let's just take three: Tibet, Kashmir, and Hyderabad, all absolutely critical to our present idea of India. And I'm going to be using this fantastic book, Patel, A Life, by Rajmohan Gandhi, as my reference. First, the erstwhile state of Hyderabad, because I love Hyderabad. His Exhausted Highness, the Nizam of Hyderabad, was rather ambivalent to the question of joining India, instead letting the thinking be done by Qasim Razvi, the leader of Ittihad ul Muslimin, a body dedicated to maintaining Muslim supremacy in the state of Hyderabad. He told the Sardar, "We shall fight and die to the last man." Still, Sardar Patel, as a goodwill gesture, signed on an agreement which was so heavily favored towards Hyderabad that he himself had earlier declared it as impertinent. However, the Nizam didn't accept it, raising a series of fresh points, something which the Sardar had predicted and secretly hoped for. He then wasted no time in pushing for an intervention. Jawaharlal Nehru wasn't too keen on it. Indeed, the then Prime Minister strongly opposed and was very critical of Sardar and his ministry's attitude. But you don't get to be called the Iron Man for nothing. Nehru was outmaneuvered, and within 5 days, Hyderabad was liberated. Now to Tibet, where Sardar Patel's fears became evident in the summer of 1949 itself, well before the communists gained full control over China. He wrote repeatedly to Nehru advising prudence and urged strengthening of India's position in Tibet. But Nehru had a deep infatuation with China and its communist regime. Claiming that the Chinese listened to us, Nehru believed friendly relations with China to be the cornerstone of India's policy, and even championed China's cause. Sardar, on the other hand, was, to put it mildly, not impressed. He wrote to Nehru, "The Chinese government had tried to delude us by professions of peaceful intentions. The tragedy of it is that the Tibetans put faith in us, they chose to be guided by us, and we have been unable to get them out of the meshes of Chinese diplomacy or Chinese influence." For the first time after centuries, India's defense has to concentrate itself on two fronts simultaneously. In our calculations, we shall now have to reckon, apart from Pakistan, with communist China in the north and the northeast. How prophetic. But Nehru didn't even answer the letter or responded to the call of a meeting. Instead, he wrote a note on China and Tibet and sent Patel a copy. In the note, Nehru wrote, "I think it is extremely unlikely that we may have to face any real military invasion from the Chinese side. It is inconceivable that China should divert its forces and its strength across the inhospitable terrain of Tibet and undertake a wild adventure across the Himalayas. Thus, I rule out any major attack on India by China. History is counter-argument enough." Finally, to the apple which wasn't in the metaphorical basket of the Sardar when he set out to integrate India, Kashmir. Patel was unhappy with many of India's steps over Kashmir, including the offer of a plebiscite, the reference to the United Nations, the ceasefire that left a fair part of the state in Pakistani hands, and the removal of the Maharaja. But though occasionally dropping a remark or a hint, he never spelt out his own solution. He let Nehru handle it, except predicting that Jawaharlal roega. Jawaharlal will do it. Again, history is proof enough. Sardar Patel's life is one of sacrifice, perseverance, and an uncanny ability to read the pulse of the people. Almost like Chanakya. What he could do, no one else could. And what he did is stuff mythical stories and legends are made of. It is said that the politics is art of making the impossible possible. Sardar Patel was most certainly one of its ardent masters. The thirsty traveller had been given a pot with no neck or bottom, but with 9 holes. But India's master potter made it whole. On this, his make-believe birthday, India is dedicating the world's largest statue, calling it the Statue of Unity. Politics on the statue aside, it most certainly is a much-deserved recognition. At the very least, we are now talking about him. I'll see you next time.